Okay, so you guys have got your panoramics done, your landscapes are done, they're ready to roll. You're feeling pretty good about them, even though some of them are probably a little bit jacked up because you stitched them wrong or didn't turn correctly. And that, again, you guys, is part of the learning process. I don't care if they're perfect. They should be a little bit longer than normal, and they should be a little bit more high resolution than normal. Okay, but if you didn't get it exactly right, don't stress. Okay, so here's my landscape I shot. And if you'll notice, I don't have a whole lot of highlights and light on my foreground because I shot it on an overcast day because I like the sky. But the foreground sort of sucks. I mean, it's pretty much featureless. My sky looks great, my foreground looks like crap. And so you see that sometimes it doesn't matter when you go out, sometimes you just can't get what you want. Okay. So, but one of the things I'm going to do to increase things a little bit and make things a little bit better is just to bump my clarity a little bit and see if I can't bring some mid-tone contrast. Now you can sort of see the foreground. It's starting to get a little bit of a pop. And that's because I'm amping up the mid-tone contrast in it to give a little bit of a, to help it out a little bit. My highlights I pulled way down because look, if my sky is blown, I pull my highlights down so I can keep that sky. Um, Yeah, and I'm gonna add some vibrance too because I still feel like I'm losing a little bit of beautiful color, and so I'm gonna add some back, and that's what my stuff looks like now. Okay, so I did some adjustments here in Camera Raw, mostly with I dumped the contrast down a little bit, dropped the exposure to keep my sky, and I'm trying to basically, you guys, keep my sky and my foreground the same. Okay, and I'll show you a way to help this out in this tutorial a little bit on masking and then adding a gradient, okay, to your mask, right? So here's my landscape. I stitched. I made my panoramic. I'm ready to roll. It looks pretty good right now, but let's do a little bit more to it. So I'm going to open this image. Okay, there's my panoramic. So I'm going to blow it up, Command Plus, and take a look at it. And I think I want my sky darker, right? So you guys will notice your sky might be washed out, or and your foreground might look nice, or your foreground might look dark, and your sky will look amazing. You'll notice that your camera can't really do either both, right? If you shot in RAW though, you've got some power to bring some stuff back. So let's make my sky a little more dramatic. What we're going to do is we're going to do a curves and then a gradient tool to get it to look like that. So if I come down here to my adjustment layers, which are my fourth little thing over, my fourth tool over, I click on that, and then I go up to curves. Do I want to go to curves? Yeah, let's go to curves. Go to curves, and I'm going to pull my midtones down. And now look, you're going to see it happen on the whole image, but just pay attention to the sky, right? So I'm looking at the sky values, and I'm going to pull that down, and I'll pull my shadows down a little bit down here, and really freaking make my sky badass. So I like the sky. Yeah, this looks suck, right? This doesn't look good at all. But the sky looks a lot cooler. I think it looks a lot better. Bang. There we go. Now my sky looks epic. I like that. But again, my foreground sucks. So what we're going to do is we're going to cancel this little tab, right? And we're going to go over here to our gradient tool, which if you follow this down, it's the little one that looks like a cylinder with it's shaded. If you click on that, okay, click on that gradient tool and then come up here to the top and make sure none of these are selected. None of them. You want this one, which goes from nothing to light black. Okay, you click on that. You click on this to make sure it's the linear gradient tool. Click, right? And then you come down here, make sure you're on white, and you drag this across, you drag this up on your grass. And you'll see I got my grass back. And look, if you look at this curve, you'll see all I did was I darkened everything, okay? And then by using the curve, the mask, basically you guys, this gradient tool is like a mask. It's like a brush, right? The brush works the same way. You can brush the stuff off and on. You can also gradient tool it back and forth. So I took this mask and I basically I made the adjustment on the entire image. And then if you remember, if you cover that, I covered it with black down here. So it hid that adjustment. Got it? I made the entire image dark. Let's look and see. I made the entire image dark, right? With my curves. And then what I did is I said, okay, if I make this entire image dark on if I put down this layer of darkness of a curves adjustment where I made everything darker, And then I take the gradient tool and I take a brush, and basically the gradient tool is a brush. I take it and drag it back and reveal what was underneath, which is my normal background. And there's my background underneath, and there's my sky that I darkened. So effectively, I was able to darken just the sky by itself in one straight flat line across the whole horizon. Okay, that's how you get the epic skies and your foreground the same, where you can get both of them in. Okay, try your gradient tool and see if you can't get something like that to work. And if you fail with it and hate it, then delete it, and who cares? I don't care. I don't mind, right? And if you don't like it, take this and throw it in the trash can down here, and then try it again. Okay, you just go the steps of taking your curves adjustment layer. You make your curves adjustment layer, and then after your curves adjustment layer, you go to your gradient, and you make sure you're on the mask, and then you swipe up with it by left clicking. Let me see. Yeah, by holding the left click down and swiping up, and you'll see it goes and just goes in gradients up. It looks pretty good. Once I got this done, I'm going to flatten this. Command Shift E. And then I'm going to come down here to my adjustment layers again and go to curves. And then I'm going to color grade this. And I want you guys to all do this, right? You guys should have some custom color grading on it that you do to it, so it looks better, like different than anybody else's that would shot it. Because color is subjective, and on these, I don't, sort of like Ansel Adams, how he went back to his dark room and he made his own idea of what it looked like. I want your guys' interpretation of what this looks like also. Okay, so go up to your RGB channels, click on this, click on red. Now up here are your highlights, and down here are your shadows. So if you push up on your highlights, you're going to get red in your highlights. If you take this down where your shadows are and push up in your shadows, you'll get red in your shadows. Or you can pull your shadows down and go green with them. Okay, I'm going to I'm going to put, what do I want? I think I want blue. I want bluish in the sky, and I think I want red in the shadows. Like that. That looks sort of freaking weird though. No, who cares? Okay, I'm going to go down to blue channel, push some yellow, push some blue up in the sky. Dude, this looks super shitty. It's looking shittier. Okay, I'm going to abandon this. I'm going to undo this with this little arrow right here. Puts it back to normal. Let's start over. Red. I do like the red, and I like the red in the highlights. Like that. I think that looks bitchin'. Come down here and pull some green into the shadows, just a little bit though, not a whole lot. Like that. And then I'm going to go down to green channel. And I think there's a lot of green going on, so I need to pull some maybe magenta in. Like that. Push some sign. There we go. Come down to blue. Dude, I'm not sure I'm liking any of this, what I'm doing right now. No, I'm not liking any of this. This is a freaking tragic mess. Are you freaking kidding me? I think I just like this. Shit, let's just make it red, brother. There we go. Just roll it. Come down here to the blue. Do I want a little bit of blue? I don't. I like yellow. I like freaking yellow. Like that. It's starting to feel a little bit like an old western. I like this. Okay, I think this looks okay. You guys might not like this, but you know what? Dude, who cares? Because this is subjective, right? Which means that I like this color. This is what I want. Even though I'm not sold on this, it's my prerogative to have this as my color palette, right? I sort of like this. There we go. Once you get this done and you've done your color grading, just hit Command Shift E, flatten it. Now you're going to want to turn this in right now and save it, but you don't, because I think it's such a big file that Dropbox will not read it. And if it doesn't read it, you don't get a grade, right? So come up here to image and go to image size. Yeah, this is gigantic. Okay, and you're going to take the resolution and drop it to 150, and height can be 15. There. Mine is still huge, dude. That's all right. Your guys should have 150 resolution, change the height to 15, let the width go whatever it wants, and click OK. It'll shrink the size a little bit. Now you'll save it. So go to File, Save As, and then your MADT 206 Loveliness Landscape _ Draper, and then actually you're going to put your last name up there. Don't put Draper. Like that, right? And then you're going to save it and drop it in. Awesome. Good job, guys. Excellent work.